Hello everyone, welcome back to my podcast. My name is Ari and I'm the host of this podcast, and let's go ahead and jump straight into this week's podcast episode because I am so excited to be reviewing this book. So the book I'm going to be reviewing today is called Totally Psychic and it is by Brigid Martin. You guys, this book is so incredible. I literally read it in like 2 or 3 days, and just to give you an idea, it's right around 300 pages. So to read 300 pages in like 1 to 2 days, that's like 150 pages per day, which is kind of a lot if you have other things going on in your life. Like obviously I had school, I have stuff with my family, so I definitely put aside the time to read this book because it was so good. Let's go ahead and talk about what Totally Psychic is about and what you can expect from this middle grade book. So first starting off, this is a debut middle grade for this author. Her name is Brigid Martin. This is her first ever middle grade book. Congratulations, Brigid. This is an amazing book, especially for a first book. So congratulations for producing an amazing first book. This book stars a Cuban-American tween, and this is actually the first book in a series, which I am so excited for because I cannot wait to read the second book because this one was so good. Brigid actually already shared the cover and title of the book with me, so I'm so honored to be able to know that before a lot of other people, so that's super cool. This book is about a Cuban-American tween, and she is a medium. For those of you who do not know what a medium is, it is basically a psychic. So psychic is another word for medium and vice versa. So the character we are following is a tween girl and her name is Paloma. So she is our main character, and obviously she is Cuban American like I said, so that's super cool, great representation in that. And the whole story is about her trying to find out and use her psychic powers. So it starts off with her and her family, and you get a little taste of her and her huge family, and it's super cute because you get to learn all about them, but it's not thrown in your face. It's not like all these family members are just like dumped on you and you're like, oh my gosh, who is who? No, it was very nicely organized, and I knew who everyone was, and I cared about everyone because they were all so sweet and caring, and they all had their own attitudes and personalities and were so unique. And it was also super relatable because being Hispanic and coming from a Hispanic/Mexican family, so much of this was relatable. Having a huge family, having all of these different little characters, some of them were like honestly like my own family members, so it was super great to see that in a book. Like I said, wonderful representation. But yeah, so it starts off with her living with her family, so many of them in this one house, and the grandma of this main little girl, she is a like star because she is an amazing psychic. So people come to their house to do readings. So the mom of this little girl does not like that her mom, which is Paloma's grandmother, that they have all of this fame and attention, and whenever they go out to like a grocery store, they always get recognized as like, oh, you're whatever's granddaughter, you're her daughter, and the mom just hates that life for her and her family. So they decide that they are going to move from Miami to Los Angeles. So very different, huge change for the whole family. But she decides that even though she's away from her family, she is going to get her medium/psychic career up and running at her new school that she is attending. So it's super cute. She does these little seances and readings for her classmates, and then they record them. It's so cute and enjoyable. And throughout the book, she'll do readings for her friends, for strangers, for people that she doesn't even know. And she really gives them peace with their family members. There were so many sweet moments where I was getting teary-eyed because it was so sweet and touching. There was one where I was like almost crying, and it's just so sweet because she was able to give some of these strangers, some friends, closure to loved ones that they had lost, and it was really nice to see, and I really enjoyed reading that. It was not so sad where I was like sobbing and I just like did not feel good. It was actually so lighthearted and heartfelt. It was just a beautiful way of doing it in this book. I really enjoyed this book. I loved the character. Paloma is an amazing character for everyone to look up to, and the book was really, really great, you guys. But yeah, so continuing with the storyline, she does these readings at her school. Her mom is not okay with it. She does not like her being psychic and trying to be a medium because that's the whole reason they left Miami, because she does not want her daughter to follow in her mom's footsteps and become famous because she does not want that for her. So basically the mom gets upset at her for doing these things, but it's super cute because Paloma makes new friends, ghosts, and real life people, and it's super cute. And one time she does a reading and something goes wrong and these spirits get unleashed and they're following her everywhere and they're very noisy and destructive and disruptive. That's the rest of the story. They have to figure out how to send these ghosts back to their realm, and it was an amazing book about new friendships, new family, new places that you're living in, trying to figure out who you are and what you do and, how that all works, and also trying to be a psychic/a medium. So this was super cool. I had never read any book where someone was a psychic or a medium, so this was very interesting. I personally love this stuff, so it was really nice to read about it. And like I said, I just sped through it. It was amazing. I loved all of the characters. I loved the storyline. I am so happy to own a copy of this book, and I'm going to reread it over and over again because I love it so much. And I'm so excited for book 2. Hopefully I'll get to review it here on my podcast for you guys and collab again with the amazing author of this book, Brigid Martin. But yeah, you guys, this book was actually just incredible. I loved it so much. And when people ask, what did you love about this book? What made you love it so much? I honestly don't even know because I can't even give a straight answer. I just loved it for everything. Like, I loved it for every single thing in the book, the characters, the storyline, the plot of it all. Like, I just loved how everything was handled, how everything was dealt with. So if you want a good book filled with like family, friendship, and ghosts and spirits and trying to be a medium and just a young tween Cuban-American girl, then this is the perfect book for you. You're not going to want to miss this one. It's called Totally Psychic. It's by Brigid Martin. This is her debut book. It's amazing. And you guys, don't leave yet because I got to do an interview with Brigid Martin. So that is so exciting. I love when I get to do interviews with the authors, and I love when I love their books because I get to talk to them about their amazing writing and their amazing stories. So don't leave yet, you guys. I have an interview coming up super soon, so don't leave just yet. Be sure to click the link in this episode description to check out Totally Psychic and to purchase it for yourself. Trust me, you are going to want to have this book and you're going to want to read it several times. You're not going to want to miss this book. Go check it out. And without further ado, here is the interview that I got to do with the author of this amazing book, Totally Psychic, Brigid Martin. Hey Brigid, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this interview with me today. I really appreciate it. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to read and feature your book on my podcast, and thank you for getting me a copy. That was so amazing. I'm so happy to have my own copy of it. And one question before we start this interview, or I guess it kind of is starting the interview because it's a question, but how is your day going today?
Hi Ari, thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you about my debut middle grade book, Totally Psychic. My day's been super great so far. I'm chatting with you here today from a phone booth at work, which is super fun because I love being able to come in and mix and mingle with my coworkers. It always brightens my day a little bit. I actually work in kids publishing myself as a sales rep, so I've actually spent most of my career selling and celebrating books by some seriously incredible authors. So it's been a really fun experience for me to be on the other side of the page, so to speak, as an author, where I get to talk about my own book.
Yes, of course, that is so fun. And now we are celebrating your book. You have spent years celebrating and congratulating, like you said, these amazing authors that produce their stories. And now I am here and you're here and we are celebrating your debut middle grade book, Totally Psychic. It was such an amazing read. I enjoyed it so much. Like, I just loved every single page of it. I could relate to it in so many ways and I just really enjoyed it. So I'm so happy that I get to do this interview with you today. And that's kind of fun that you're joining from a phone booth from work. That's just like cool. I've never had anyone do that before. So thank you for being here with me today doing this. I am so looking forward to doing this interview. So now jumping into the first interview question I have for you. I know that you have been behind the scenes and helping authors make their dreams a reality, but when did you first know that you wanted to be an author?
Being an author is actually something that I aspired to be ever since I was a little kid. I always found books to be a fun escape from reality, and I loved getting lost in a good story. I remember being in middle school. Oh, actually, no, it was sooner than that. I think it was elementary school, about like third grade or so. And I was writing my first short story, which I think was either called The Secret Door or The Secret Hand. I can't remember. But it was basically about this kid who had a super tough life and parents who were dying. And I was very bleak back then. And when he went out into this garden behind his house, he cried into the soil because he was so sad. And out of the soil grew a root that looked like a hand holding two different colored berries. And one berry would save his parents and the other would kill them. But because they were already dying, he decided to give it a try, accidentally gives them the wrong berry, and they pass away. But when the little boy returned to the garden, a gate formed next to the creepy root hand, and it took him into this fairy world where he was adopted by a royal fairy family. So I think it was like maybe 8 or 9 when I wrote that. And afterwards, I always wanted to write. I was always reading and writing these kind of like fantasy type stories. I remember like one of my favorite books in elementary school was The Secret of Platform 13, which was about like escaping to this like not wizarding kind of world, but it was like definitely like a fantasy land. So I always gravitated towards books like that. So I found that I often wrote stories about those kinds of topics, like whether it was ghosts or witches, any kind of world that wasn't this one. So writing Totally Psychic, it's kind of like based in the world we're in now, but as if being able to like summon and speak to ghosts is like a normal thing. So that was really fun for me. So yeah, basically, if I wasn't reading, I was writing something. And I just kind of kept that ember of a dream alive ever since. And it has taken me a little while to get my first book published, but I'm definitely happy that I never gave up on myself. And I had other stories that I had written before this one that I had submitted. I'd gotten a lot of no's, a lot of rejections, but I always kept working on something. Like, I always kept that dream alive of, well, maybe this one didn't get picked up, but I'll work on something else. I'll try something new, and maybe that one will get picked up. So I just kept trying and writing, and I'm really excited to have my first book actually published, and it was a really fun experience being able to work with and collaborate with Cake Creative on this. And yeah, to see something that I wrote out there in the world is just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine when I first started my podcast, however many years ago or however long ago it was, I remember when I like released my first episode, which you guys do not look back at those, please. I should honestly delete them. But when I first released that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's out there in the world for people to see or for people to listen to and hear. And it was so exciting, but also kind of like scary and weird at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I'm so happy for you that you got your book out. And like you were saying, how it took you so many times. You never gave up and you just kept trying and trying different books. And maybe this one worked, maybe this one. That one didn't work. Okay, what about this one? That is like so motivational because one of my older sisters, she is trying to become an author right now. And she has been trying to query and get an agent for this one book. And I know she loves it so much and her heart is in it, but I keep telling her, like, let's try another project or maybe try working on another book, or that's a good story you had once, maybe write that one. And, like you said, because if one doesn't work, that doesn't mean your whole career is over. It just means try something else and maybe a not right now for that project that you were working on. So I think that was really great that you said that. Thank you for sharing that. And oh my gosh, your story that you said you came up with when you were like 8 or 9, was it? Are you kidding me? I can't even come up with a story like that like right now, and I'm in high school. So like that was an incredible story. As you were telling me about it, I was just like, my mouth was open. I was shocked. It was incredible. That is such a creative story, something I would have never thought of. You should definitely consider maybe making that into like a short story, or just like post it on your Instagram or something like that, or maybe try to get it published one day. That is so cool. And even though you said it was like a bit bleak and dull at the beginning with like the parents dying, it is, I guess, like it's kind of dark, the parents die, but that's also kind of realistic in life. But I think the whole creativeness and the world building and the fairy tale of it was just so good. Like, I was intrigued already. Like, if someone told me that was a book, I would be like, oh my gosh, I need to check this out. That sounds so good. So that's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that. I kind of want to hear more about that. That's so crazy that was an idea when you were so little. So congrats on already being an author. You were definitely meant to be an author, and I'm so happy that it finally happened for you. It was definitely meant to be. But now moving on to the next question I have for you. How did you come up with the title Totally Psychic? Because I think it literally is perfect.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked that. So I actually had a really long working document of potential titles filled with flops such as Middle School Medium and Ghost Girl. But as I was struggling to come up with a good title, I was thinking of the content that inspired me a lot growing up. And I was like, what better teen psychic is there than That's So Raven? And that sparked a memory from when I used to be a volunteer at the Children's Media Association. I had attended a lecture by either one of the producers or the director of the show, and he was talking about the original title of That's So Raven before Raven was chosen to be the lead. And it was originally pitched as Absolutely Psychic. And I thought to myself, well, what if this book, which is set in California, has a similar title to pay homage to the incredible show? but give it a little bit of a different spin. So I went with the word totally, since I just associate that with California chill vibe language. And then, of course, kept the word psychic, and it just felt right. So I am really happy with it.
Yes, it definitely feels right. Like, it just, like, rolls off the tongue like, oh yeah, totally psychic. You know, it's, like, so cool. It's such an amazing title, so I love that. And thank you for sharing that backstory of the, like, conference or event that you went to. That was so cool to hear. And I didn't even know that that was, like, the original title for that show. Like, that was the name that they were going to go with. And how you had all those ideas. It's just so cool to hear the backstory of things that we now know as, like, different names. Like, whenever I do research on whatever, like, I used to do episodes called Pick Your Brain here on my podcast, where I would just talk about, like, random things. Like, each episode would be about, like, fruits and how they got their names, or, like, and what they help you with. Another one was, like, why Americans say bless you when people sneeze. And another one was, like, where famous chocolates got their names from. So I always like to research things like that. And it's super interesting to see the backstory. And also what's so fascinating, what I love to read about, is when they say, you know, different names for what we now know as whatever was considered that, like, back then, you know, like what the actual idea for it first was and now what it is. Like, it's so different. Like, let's say, like, for example, this is not at all true, but let's say before chocolate Snickers, let's say they want to call it, like, you know what? I actually don't have an idea. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying, like, the original names that they had and now knowing what it is now and just, like, knowing that that's what that is. I don't know if I explained this well or if anyone is actually understanding what I'm saying. But if you know what I mean, thank you for understanding my weird language that I try to speak. But yeah, I just basically thank you for sharing that amazing story. And I love the title for the book. It's so great. And I think it definitely is the perfect title. But now moving on to the next question I have for you. Do you relate to any of your characters? And if so, which ones and how?
Okay. So I would say that I absolutely relate to the main character, Paloma. So this book, it centers around 12-year-old psychic medium Paloma Ferrer, who grew up living with her abuela, the most famous psychic medium of all time. But since Paloma is new at the whole speaking to ghosts thing, she kind of messes up a lot and accidentally opens up a portal to the spirit world in the middle of her school. And not only is she psychic, but the rest of her family is too, each with their own specialty, from dream analysts to numerologists and even mind readers. So growing up, my family always used to tell me ghost stories and tell me of their experiences they had with the unexplainable. My mom, she also had me convinced for a while that mind readers were real. Which I feel like was not the best thing to maybe tell a middle schooler, but I would memorize all this poetry just to keep them out of my head, just in case there was a mind reader out there. So I had like the Raven on loop in my head. So since I was brought up in a family that believed in these things, I tried to pepper in small pieces of my experience by making sure that the whole dealing with ghosts thing really was a family affair. But I definitely relate to Paloma the most because, like her, I also struggle with anxiety a little bit. I love plants, and Paloma's special power is that she's a flower medium, so she sees these flowers pop up everywhere that help her to make predictions based on what the flower's meaning is. And I have actually seen a ghost before when I was younger, so that's a little fun fact about me.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? You're just gonna leave me with I've seen a ghost before? Really? Thanks for not sharing. I'm just kidding. But I think that is so cute what you said about how you thought that mind readers were actually real for so long. That's funny, but also kind of scary because, like, if you actually went on thinking that for so long, that must have been kind of like not scary, but like always thinking that people are reading your mind. That's funny. Thank you for sharing that. But yeah, I think it's so amazing and wonderful that you kind of sprinkled in little parts of your own family and your childhood and your life into this book. I think that's always what makes a project of anyone's, like whatever job or career you're in. That's what makes it so special because you are making it really connect to you and kind of you only. And it just makes it so much more special to you because when you released this book and everyone got to read it, you were like, people are also kind of reading a little bit about my life and about me as an author, as a person. So that's super amazing that you were able to do that and it was sprinkled in just perfectly. I love Paloma and I love her character. So thank you for creating such an awesome character, and I truly do mean that, and I mean an amazing book and everything. So thank you for bringing your book to the world, and I'm so glad that you did because I love it so much. But now moving on to, unfortunately, the last question I have for you. Have you personally ever tried hosting/holding a seance? And if so, what happened?
Oh my gosh, no. Okay, so in my family, despite it being a ghost-friendly household, the vibe was very much that if you see a ghost, that's awesome. If one comes to you, great. But don't go seeking that stuff out because you don't know what you're going to get and you don't want something bad latching onto you or something. So Ouija boards were a total no in my family. And I made sure to make that one of the rules of mediumship in the book. And it's actually the moment that Paloma uses a Ouija board that things kind of get out of hand and chaos ensues. But I do remember seeing a ghost when I was younger, where me and my mom, we were sitting in the living room and I asked her, hey, like, who's that lady standing in the corner? And she was like, what lady? But then I think she composed herself a little bit and asked me, well, what does she look like? So I told her that she was a woman in a blue dress with red hair. So my mom pulls out this black and white photo and asks me, is this who you're seeing? And I said, yes, that's her. And she was like, okay, that's your grandma Loretta, my dad's mom, who died before I was born. Now the thing is, all the photos of my dad's mom are in black and white. So there was no way for me to know that she had red hair. So that's my fun ghost encounter. I'm choosing to believe it's real because I absolutely believe that little kids and the elderly especially are more tuned into seeing those kinds of things. So I like to think that my grandma Loretta visited me and I think it's sweet.
Just like hearing that story, I definitely like 100% think that your grandma was there, like without a doubt, visiting you. I mean, you were a little kid. How would you know that, like you said, she had red hair? And it's not like you would make something up and just like purposefully see a woman standing in the corner of your room. So that is so sweet and touching. That was such an amazing story. My mom said that she saw a ghost when she was younger, but I think it was just like white and like floating, maybe like an angel. I'm not really sure. I don't think I've ever really seen a ghost, but like you said, I also really do believe that kids and like little young ones are very much more in tune just because they are, I think, they notice everything because they just look in and take in everything. And I think that maybe many kids have seen ghosts, but they don't even know that they're ghosts. They just think it's like something random. And like you said, also, I 100% agree with you and believe that Ouija boards are not good. You should not use them. Along with holding seances, I personally have never done it either just because I'm scared. I feel like if a family member or someone that you love cares to visit you, they will make themselves known in a kind of like, you know, just a little way that you will know personally. I don't think they're going to try to scare you or anything, especially if they love you. And I think if you ever try to hold a seance and kind of invite spirits, yes, you can get good out of it, but also like you said in the book when she used a board, I think that other unwanted spirits can definitely make their way in because maybe they have no one else to go to and they may be bad, they may be upset or sad or angry. So yeah, I'm glad we agree on that. I just wanted to ask because I thought it would be cool, and thank you for sharing your story of when you thought you saw, not when you thought, when you saw a ghost. I know you did, and that's so cool to hear that story. So thank you for sharing that. But yeah, so before I go ahead and close out this interview, I also just kind of want to recommend this YouTube channel. It's called Sam and Kobe, and it's these two young men, I think they're like in their 20s, these two boys, and they basically do ghost hunting, and sometimes they will hold seances and they'll go to these haunted places and see if they can make connections with any of the spirits and ghosts there. Some of their stuff is a little bit kind of like demonic, so if you don't want that, then don't watch that. Sometimes honestly I don't even like watching them because it gives me like an ugly feeling and I just don't feel nice, but some of their videos in series that they have done are super interesting. They give the whole history of the place that they are like staying at or that they're going to be doing their research at, and it's really great because they're also funny. They do curse a lot though, so for any of you guys who want to maybe possibly check them out, they do curse a lot and there is possibly some demonic stuff in it because it is dealing with dead people and obviously spirits and stuff like that. But I just want to go ahead and recommend them to you guys because you seem like you really like stuff like this. So if you want to check them out, their YouTube channel is Sam and Kobe, but don't feel like you have to. I just wanted to recommend it to you, like I said, because it seems like you really like this ghost stuff and so do I. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview here with me today. I really enjoyed reading your amazing middle grade debut book, Totally Psychic. It was such a great book. I really enjoyed every single page of it, like I have said so many times. Honestly, my viewers are probably getting sick of it because I've said it so many times throughout the interview, but I don't care. I'm going to keep saying it because this book was so amazing. So thank you so much again. I had so much fun getting to chat with you today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me here today. This was so much fun being able to speak with you a little bit about my book, Totally Psychic, and about what inspired me in my writing process. Thank you for taking the time to read it. And I'm totally going to have to check out that YouTube show you mentioned. I know you have a huge pile of books on your to be read list, so happy reading.
Okay, you guys, so that was the interview that I got to do with Brigid. She is so amazing and so sweet. It was so fun getting to chat with her about her and her life experiences and also about her book, Totally Psychic. So yeah, this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have made it to this point in the episode, thank you so much. I know this is a little bit of a longer episode, but I think longer episodes are always better because we get to hear more from the authors. And if it's long, that means that I really, really loved the book. So thank you so much for listening to my podcast and supporting me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Don't forget to check out this book, you guys. Be sure to click the link in this week's episode description. You're not going to want to miss this book. It is just so amazing. Also, I forgot to do a quick little shout out to the cover artist because, come on, look at the cover. It's so amazing, so vibrant. I love all of the colors, and I feel like you can get a little taste of the book just by looking at the cover. So quick shout out to Vanessa Morales. Yes, you guys, I cannot roll my R's, okay? Don't make fun of me. I literally cannot roll my R's. Am I Hispanic? Yes. Can I speak Spanish? Kind of / not really. I just really cannot roll my R's, so I'm sorry. But shout out to her, shout out to Neil Schwab, and shout out to Mindy Tucker. They all took parts in making this amazing book cover come to life. So thank you so much again for tuning into this week's podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to go check this book out, Totally Psychic by Brigid Martin. And book lovers, always remember, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book. And I will see you guys very soon for another fun podcast episode. Bye, friends!